Putin set to test NATO's resolve as Sweden issues a stark warning over Russia's future intentions? Sweden's Defense Committee warns Russia could challenge NATO's Article 5 if it sees an opportunity to test alliance unity. The Suwałki Corridor emerges once again as a potential flashpoint on NATO's vulnerable eastern flank. Experts say some of Moscow's military and political signals resemble patterns seen before previous major offensives. Alarm bells ring across Europe as fears grow of a future Russia-NATO confrontation if deterrence fails. Sweden's Parliamentary Defense Committee has warned that Russia could test NATO relatively soon if it believes conditions are favorable for such a move. The claim was reported by SVT, which cited findings from a new report released by Sweden's Parliamentary Defense Committee. The report said Moscow may strike a NATO member state if it calculates that the strategic and political conditions favor limited military action. Jörgen Berglund said, and I quote, "We can state that the security and political situation remains serious and is characterized by significant uncertainty. There is a risk of rapid deterioration with serious consequences for the security of Sweden and Europe." Unquote. Officials warned that Moscow's objective in such a scenario could be to test NATO's unity and the credibility of its Article 5 collective defense commitments. Analysts said Russia is already moving beyond traditional hybrid operations, including cyber attacks and influence campaigns against European states. Researchers said recent military activity in the Baltic region has shown signs that some governments interpret as preparation for potential future conflict. Experts have described Moscow's recent behavior as following patterns that preceded previous Russian military interventions in neighboring regions. Analysts identified the Suwałki Corridor as the most likely location for limited NATO test because of its strategic vulnerability. The strategic 80-kilometer land gap links Poland and Lithuania while separating Russia's Kaliningrad enclave from Belarus. Meanwhile, EU officials confirmed that China trained hundreds of Russian soldiers, according to a report cited by RFE/RL. A senior EU official said some of those personnel later took part in combat operations during the war in Ukraine. The official said the training activities occurred at multiple locations inside China as military cooperation expanded. Reuters earlier reported that around 200 Russian troops were trained in China during the latter part of 2025. The training programs reportedly included instruction in drone warfare, electronic warfare, aviation operations, and armored combat tactics. EU intelligence services said some of the personnel who received training later fought in Crimea and the Zaporizhzhia region.
Russia is virtually the only country to stand in opposition to the so-called collective West in the form of the well-known North Atlantic Treaty Organization, known as NATO. After all NATO countries, without exception, are making every effort and doing everything in their power to organize these hostilities against Russia, to wage, as they believe, a war against Russia that has been launched with the aim of securing a victorious outcome. No one has ever managed to inflict such a decisive, final defeat on Russia, because our people, as you rightly said, are united across nationalities and understand their responsibility to future generations, to our children and grandchildren. There are quite a few young people sitting here, and you, God bless, will also have grandchildren and so on, future generations. We must think about this. No one else needs Russia but us. Only we are able to defend it, strengthen it, and create the conditions for its confident development. Everyone comes to us and joins forces, including in terms of intellectual contributions. We must acknowledge that NATO countries are highly developed in terms of technology and science. They have a highly developed economy. They are trying to inflict a strategic defeat on us. They tried. Now they realize that this is impossible. This is a task that cannot be accomplished. They went too far. They rushed things when they announced it publicly. Some even joined NATO to get a slice of the pie. If there were no cameras, I'd show you what they'd achieve in this situation with that gesture you all know so well. They won't achieve anything. We need to stay one step ahead. There are a lot of them, a whole lot of them, and we are one, a united, multinational force. One, and we should not merely respond to the challenges they set before us, but stay one step ahead, step by step, not as fast as we would like, but we are still moving forward every single day. Every day. Gradually we will regain control of our territory. It will be so. We will achieve this. There can be no doubt about it. And there's only one piece of advice we can give to our enemies. Do not fight Russia. never tried to do so. Let us live in peace and resolve all problems together through negotiations. But these are supposed to be negotiations, not ultimatums addressed to us, which they were still trying to impose on us. Now there are no ultimatums. They agreed to negotiate. Yes, we agreed to negotiate, but only taking into account our national interests. We need to improve our capabilities and develop and strengthen them. We will do so. We have just been discussing Starlink, a sound technology, and low-capacity satellite constellations. This technology exists. It needs to be developed. I have just been speaking to some scientists and manufacturers, and there are other capabilities that the enemy does not possess. There are many things the enemy lacks, but which we possess, and there will be more and better. As for the B-class aircraft, we can see that the enemy is expanding the use of this military equipment to address a specific issue. The aim is to disrupt Russian society, to inflict psychological damage on us, to sow confusion amongst the Russian people, and to cause economic harm. They will not succeed. It is clear that this is a matter of particular concern to us. There are several tasks we must address. First, we must strengthen the country's air defense systems, various systems. I will not go into detail now. Experts are aware of this. We need to operate at different altitudes, with different targets to neutralize, and so on. We are doing this, and we will continue to do so. That is the first point. Secondly, as far as the economy is concerned, of course, we are suffering damage, but we are recovering quickly. They will not be able to cause us serious problems, but we must respond to them as best we can. We will do this, and we will step up our strikes on the enemy's infrastructure so as to deter them from attacking our civilian facilities, and they will not be able to break our society or cause us economic damage. In any case, they will not succeed in achieving their objectives, and we will do it, and we will do it with more and more opportunities that we can create. They are a serious threat and will only grow once this drone threat has been overcome. If I am not mistaken, correct me if I am wrong, there are sometimes firefights as well. The enemy is more or less weakened. As far as I understand, they rely on these drones. And in fact, this is one of the most important tasks. This is what the industry is engaged in. This is what your commanders, the Ministry of Defense, and other departments, including civilian ones, are engaged in. But in addition to this, we have already talked about this many times. This is what all our experts across the country are engaged in. All over the country. I have tried to ensure this, and the Ministry of Defense has taken this on board so that we do not hold anything back, so that there is no excessive bureaucracy, so that everything of value that emerges receives support and appropriate funding. And this is what is happening. I would like all this to happen as soon as possible, but in any case, progress is being made in this direction. And this also applies to the State Defense Order. Of course, the most demanding items are procured and purchased within the framework of the State Defense Order. This is what we will do next. And our manufacturers and the defense industry are also working effectively